What if your food cravings were not about willpower, but messages from your soul? Welcome to today's session. Today we'd like to explore food and body image. The first question for Divine is, if we already know in our minds that healthy food is good for us, why isn't it always our natural choice?
You eat food based on what is depleted in you, or what is overly amplified. So, for example, you may have a depletion in, let's say, the Ajna chakra, also called the third eye chakra. And then you may end up wanting more vegetables, as an example, because vegetables are linked to the Ajna chakra. Or, for example, you may be at a stage where there is a big shift happening in the solar plexus or the ego, and so you'll notice that the way you consume carbohydrates or starch-based products will shift. You consume food based on what is depleted in you, or what is intensified in your system. So the opposite of depletion is overconsumption. And we're talking energetically. For example, you may have the energy of momentum, of doing, of wanting to achieve more, to do more. And that is an overconsumption, or an amplified energy, in the ego. And because of that amplified energy, you end up wanting more coffee, as an example. Does that make sense? So what we would say is, instead of trying to eat food or manage your food based on what you know mentally, what is good for you or what is not, which is a judgment, what we would say is instead notice your patterns of food, so become the observer. For example, if you notice that you're always eating fries, as an example, or burgers, and you feel like, I don't want to eat that, you can connect with your inner divine guidance and ask, what is the resonance? What is depleted in me, or what is in excess? And how do I take it back to a balanced state so that I can have a burger once in a while, but it's not something I'm always craving? You're neutral towards it, so there are no cravings. Does that make sense? So what we're saying is, the way in which people try to tackle it is not the most impactful way, because one, it comes from a place of judgment, and that is the ego. It is not from the heart or above, so you're not allowing for transmutation by doing that. You start to judge yourself, and then you start trying to control the way you eat, etc. Instead, there's an easier way. First, you don't judge yourself. You observe the patterns. Let's say you noticed a pattern that you don't even need to observe. It's very obvious, and it's been taking place for years, and you know that it's not healthy in your perspective. Then you connect with your inner divine guidance, and you ask, what is the resonance? And where does it sit? And what chakra is the imbalance? And is it because of a depletion or an excess in energy? And what is that energy? And now, how can I bring it back into balance? That should be the exercise that is followed. Of course, there are many ways in which you can bring your energy back into balance. But in general, you ask your inner divine guidance, and we will guide. And then, once you allow yourself to be in that balanced state repetitively, especially if it's a pattern that occurred over years, then you would take some time to bring your energy into balance, not just 1 or 2 5-minute sessions, okay? And then you will start to notice it in your physicality, because of course the physical realm, or your physical reality, is a reflection of the energy that you carry. You will start to notice that your cravings are not as intense, so it'll be like an automatic reflection. But it takes the intention to want to bring your energy into balance, and consistency in putting, you can say, the effort to bring your energy back into a balanced state. As in, you don't just do 1 session. If you need to do a few more, then you do a few more. But what we would say is that it is easier, more impactful, and lasts longer as a solution than judging yourself and then trying to control the way you eat. Embrace all these signs that you receive in the physical realm. The way you eat is a sign. The way your body looks is a sign. Whether you lack fat or have excess fat in certain areas of your body is also a sign. Everything is a sign. And so the optimal way of viewing all these things is through the lens of everything is a sign about a balanced or an imbalanced state of energy in a specific chakra. You simplify it. It doesn't need to be complicated. And what is most important to take away from what we've been saying from the past few minutes is to never try to solve anything from a place of judgment. Okay? It's never conducive.
Can you please give us a general perspective of the main food addictions that we have as a society and what they mean? For example, addiction to sugar, coffee, things like that.
So, for example, when it comes to an addiction with sugar, there are a lot of people, you can say with the shift in the collective consciousness, where there's less of a need for survival. As a collective, you have already moved from the root chakra into the ego, and now there's a movement towards the heart chakra, which will take some time, but there is a movement taking place. And so, you can say, by being in the ego, a lot of people didn't feel like they want to be alive. You can say a lot of people have become, we would not use the word suicidal, but they don't feel comfortable in their bodies. They feel like, what is going on? I don't want to be here. And that life is not a place of expansion, a place of joy. It's a place of suffering. It's a place of pain, loss, etc. And so, what does sugar do? You can say it gives you this momentary feeling of sweetness that you would like to experience in your life. But because you believe somewhere deep down that it's not possible in this life, you resort to sugar. Because from your soul's perspective, there's a lot of joy and expansion in this life. And so the craving happens, or you call it an addiction, to take you back into that balanced state of sweetness, that there is sweetness. And for example, with coffee, again, this is linked to the collective consciousness being in the state of the ego. Coffee is linked to the yellow spectrum vibration that is related to momentum and taking action. So if there is already momentum somewhere, it adds to that. But it doesn't add to it in a balanced way, of course. It provides a tunnel focus on just doing and doing and doing. Control, control, control. And that's why you will notice that the people who believe, in their perspective, they are in control of, let's say, an entire company or multiple companies. A lot of them are addicted to coffee because it amplifies this yellow spectrum of energy of, I'm responsible, I need to do A, B, C, D, I need to get this done, that done. Without me making a certain decision, nothing's going to move. There's a lot of responsibility in the person's perspective, and they believe that any decision they make will lead to a massive outcome, whether negative or positive. So what we would say is, for everyone's journey and body, of course, what is balanced is different. So for example, for you, you may believe that your balance is 2 glasses of coffee per week. For someone else, it's 1. So it depends what your balance is, but you, as a person, know what is your balance. So for example, if there's a person that's used to drinking 1 or 2 glasses, but suddenly they start drinking 5 or 6 cups, they're out of balance. And so being out of balance or not is relative to the person's energy, their physical body, and their journey in this world.
What if you avoid something? For example, if I don't like coffee and I avoid it.
Maybe you're not resonating. So you can say that when you avoid coffee. What we would say is, if you're neutral, then it's fine. But when you're disgusted, or when you feel like you don't want it, let's say that the smell disturbs you. What we would say is, any food item, if you're neutral towards it, then you're in alignment. But if there's the craving or there's an aversion, then there's a misalignment. What are addictions? and we're talking about any addiction right now. In general, addictions go down to the belief of, I'm not enough. When you hold that belief for a prolonged period of time, and you can say in relatively an intense form, then you will most likely have at least one addiction in your life, if not more. The addiction with carbohydrates, for example, it's not just not feeling enough. It's not feeling enough and self-judgment at the same time. So, you don't feel enough, and you're also judging yourself for not feeling enough. It's like, why am I not enough? What's wrong with me? Why can't I be like someone else? There's a lot of comparison, a lot of self-judgments, and some self-loathing, which is linked, you can say, to a certain extent also to the sex chakra. What we would say is, in general with food, if you go back to creation, you're a soul in this realm with an internal toolkit and an external toolkit. Both provide you with tools and experiences to witness divinity. So everything in creation is created for the human being's experience in this realm as a soul, not just a human being as a physical body. And food happens to be one of our creations as part of the external toolkit. And so, you view it for what it is. Yes, in the physical realm, it sustains you. But everything that exists, in the end, is there for you to witness your light. And so, there's no need to judge yourself. Everything here is created for you, for your witnessing.
This is where we'll close today's first part on food and self-judgment. In the next video, we'll continue with Divine's perspective on body image and how to move beyond society's standards into true alignment. These messages come from Divine Source energy, channeled through Divine Consciousness, a capacity available to all. They are voiced with AI, so the focus remains on the message, not the messenger, and are divinely guided rather than personal ideas. The purpose of this channel is to expand perspective, inspire new systems rooted in love and oneness, and help humanity shift away from fear and control. When we say divine, we refer to the ultimate source of creation. Divine speaks, using the pronouns we, us and our, for it is one with all that is, not separate from you or me. If this message resonates, share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to receive new weekly channeled sessions.